Welcome to this tutorial on CTC's MEP Productivity Pack for Revit. This is part 3 of a 4-part video series on the Productivity Pack's universal pole lighting content. In parts 1 and 2 of this video series, we learned how to configure the Productivity Pack's light poles and pole lights. In this video, we will learn how to host the pole lights to the light poles. Light poles and pole lights are separate families in order to allow maximum flexibility in design. It allows poles to be scheduled separately from the heads, and it allows different heads to be placed on the same pole at different angles and at different heights. I'm going to place a pole here. The round and square poles are identical for hosting purposes, so I'll just place the round one. This pole is 23 feet tall. We know this by the parameter top of pole above grade. Therefore, if we want to host a fixture to the top of the pole, and if the pole is hosted to the level and not offset from the level, we have to set the elevation of the light to 23 feet, so let's keep that number in mind. Let's first discuss hosting the round and rectangular pole heads, and then we'll come back to the post top. Let's place a light fixture and find a pole head. We want to host this at the top of the pole, so its elevation should be 23 feet. Although this is a round pole, notice that the placement preview snaps at 90 degrees. This is by design. Placing at exactly 90-degree angles on a round host would be difficult. If we zoom in closely and select the pole, we can see that there's a square hosting element hiding behind the symbol. This is what enables the 90-degree mounting. The width of that hosting element is equal to the actual width of the pole. It's very small relative to the symbol because the drawing scale is so small. Let's place an instance of the pole head here, and another here at 90 degrees, and we can see it in 3D. One thing to see is that the top of the fixture is aligned to the top of the pole. The pole is 23 feet tall, and we place the fixture at 23 feet. The elevation of the pole light measures to the top of the fixture. If the elevation measured to the center or to the bottom of the fixture, then setting it to 23 feet would cause the light to be above the top of the pole. The second thing we want to see here is to point out a problem. The first fixture appears to be hosted to the pole, but the second fixture that I placed clearly isn't. It's hosted to the first fixture. And we can confirm this by moving the first fixture. The second fixture follows. This happened because the pole is so very small on the plan, it's difficult to find when placing fixtures. I obviously failed to find it. I found the first fixture instead. So let's delete these and try again. In order to make the hosting element easier to find, there's an instance parameter here for the pole named Easier Hosting. When selected, that hosting element, which was so small before, is made larger so it's easier to see. Now we can place our two fixtures very easily. After they're placed, we can uncheck Easier Hosting to shrink that host back down to its proper size. When we do that though, the lights leave the pole. That's not what we want, so let's align these back to the center of the pole and see why they did that. Now that they're aligned, let's select Easier Hosting again. With the hosting element enlarged, we can see that the lights are hosted at the very end of this face. Let's turn on thin lines and look closer. When we host the light to this face, Revit chooses this edge as a reference, and when the host changes size, it maintains this distance as constant. There are two ways around this issue. The first way is what we already did. Place the instance anywhere on the enlarged host, then align to center after you shrink the host down. The second way around it is to just place the light fixture at the very edge from the beginning. So we can place an instance here, and when we shrink the host back down, they'll be pretty close to center. Let's delete these and look at one more item in the pole's properties. That's this parameter here, 90-degree mounting, and its associated parameter, 60-120 degree mounting. Pole heads are often mounted at 90-degree angles to each other, but they're also often mounted 120 degrees apart. Let's enlarge this host again and uncheck 90-degree mounting. The 120-degree mounting parameter will check automatically, and when we apply, the square host turns into a hexagonal host. So we can place fixtures at 120 degrees apart and shrink back down. Finally, let's look at the post-top fixture. The post-top fixture is also a separate family intended to host to the pole. Therefore, even though as we approach the pole it appears that we can host, we shouldn't do so because it's attempting to host to a vertical face. To host to the top of the pole, we need to change to place on face. But this still won't work. If we try to host here, it appears to find a host, but if we place, we see the fixture is upside down in 3D. This is because we happen to be working in a reflected ceiling plan, so we're looking up at the top of the pole. We have to place the post-top light in a plan view. I have a plan view open here, and when we place the fixture, the light will appear in its correct location at the top of the pole. Hosting pole lights to poles is admittedly a bit tedious, but there's two bits of good news. First, Once you've hosted the fixtures to the poles and tagged them, you can simply copy them around your site. Second, the Productivity Pack features several model groups of typical pole-like configurations that may allow you to skip hosting altogether. We'll cover those model groups in the next video. Now you know how to host fixtures to light poles using CTC's MEP Productivity Pack for Revit. Thanks for watching, and be sure to continue to part 4 of this video series, linked in the user manual.